When did the popular kid's life fall apart in a few seconds? 3 popular kids went swimming in a quarry. Only 2 came out. It sucks because the one that died was popular for all the right reasons. He was a genuinely good dude. I was the weird kid, but his locker was right next to mine and he was friendly every single day to every single person. Something similar like this happened recently to a few guys that go to my old high school. It was like 1 a.m. They went swimming in the local river that goes through town and one of the guys drowned. He was nice and friendly, but not popular since it was a really big school. His friends allegedly planned his death, but there were no punishments for them. I don't know that his life really fell apart, because it turns out his home life was terrible all along, but it definitely shifted how people looked at him. And I went to a small school, so there weren't too many divisions between people. When you only have 40-something kids in a grade, popular is kind of relative. But, a kid's mom decided to leave her husband, the kid's stepdad. The stepdad, who was known to faculty and was considered a good guy, stopped by the school to deliver something to his stepson. Cool. The secretary gave him a pass to drop it off at the stepson's class, rather than call him down to the office. The stepdad actually had a gun and had no idea where the stepson was during that period, so was roaming the halls. Luckily, a friend of the stepson, who knew what an abusive, dangerous guy the stepdad was, happened to be in the office and alerted everyone. We all went on lockdown. The police came. We were stuck for a couple of hours as they swept the school after arresting the guy. Then, it came out that the kid had been abused for the entire time his mom had been married to the guy, and she only was leaving him after he started hitting her. It was a whole thing, and while everyone had pretty much always liked the kid, he suddenly just had everyone feeling sorry for him. Teachers let him go back and redo assignments to boost his grade. People gave him stuff to start over. He just kind of got really closed off and stopped joking around and only hung out with like 3 people after that. He was known as the abused kid with a stepdad who was going to shoot up a school, and that's hard to get over. I know better than some that it's best to not pity those trying to get better. It doesn't help with them moving on. In fact, after my dad split with his 3rd girlfriend, he had a relationship standard problem or something. Everyone was feeling sorry for me even though it didn't faze me. I actually thought it was pretty normal. So after everyone was saying stuff like, "Oh, I'm so sorry and if you need anything, I'm here for you," which made me feel bad as if I'm just using their kindness without needing it. Then I met this girl. She did know all about the incident, and I, being my rude self, told her to move out my way since she was standing in my way. Unlike everyone else, she just ignored me. When I told her again, she said in a mocking voice, "If you really want me to move, you should say please. Just because you had something sucky happen to you, doesn't mean you get special treatment." I have never forgotten these words. We became best friends and nothing more. So to make a long story short, it's better to let others get back to how things are. He was an only child, and his dad had died when he was 2. Was really happy-go-lucky, and he was popular because he was outgoing, supportive, warm and kind to everybody without fail, and although he was friends with the kind of kids who bullied people, he was the first person to tell them to knock that shit off if he saw it. When we were 16, his mom, who was one of the nicest ladies I ever met in our small town, was crushed to death by a semi-trailer that drifted into her lane. He dropped out of school, he stopped talking to anybody, and he refused to let anyone visit him. I have no idea what became of him. Sorry, Jay. I hope your life got better. Stuff like this makes me cry. Unfortunately, a cheerleader from my school had a 4-wheeling accident that left her in an almost vegetative state. Through years and years of hard work on her part, she's been able to gain a little more independence. However, she'll never be exactly the same as she was before the accident. It's really sad and crazy how quickly your life can change from an accident. Guy on the football team sent a girl's nudes that the entire football team and a good portion of people in my grade got arrested during class. I haven't seen him since. Was the girl under 18? Distribution of child pornography? Yeah, we were in middle school. Holy shit. When she got pregnant and a few years later she moved to another school district. Came here to say this and surprised there wasn't more in this vein. Are kids smarter about sex now? We had like 3 pregos in my HS, but that was decades ago. He got made fun of because he wanted to wait to have sex with his new GF, popular girl, so he caved and did it. Teen pregnancy. I think the term peer pressure gets thrown around a lot like it's some everyday thing you can shrug off, and it very well can be. But then there's cases like this where it can permanently affect or destroy someone's life or reputation. Peer pressure needs to be taken more seriously. When he hit and killed a state trooper on the freeway while the trooper was out of his car trying to remove debris from the road. Holy fuck. That's such a shitty way to immediately fuck your life up forever. You ruin someone's family, your own, have to live with that guilt all because you made a mistake in a split second by accident. No one wins. These types of things are so awful, but I really do feel bad for the guy. Unless he was drunk. Fuck drunk drivers. Were there signs? Was he speeding? That's what I was wondering. I once saw a trooper clearing debris off of a 65 miles per hour highway. He was on the other side of the highway, but I didn't see any sort of protection other than his car. His parents divorced and he started acting out. He went from good grades and clubs to failing in drugs. I'm not sure I would call him the popular kid, but in some circles he was. He was a bit of an arrogant ass in my opinion, but had money and liked to spread it around. His dad was a wealth manager. Lots of friends/family/community members were clients. A few years after high school it came out that dad had embezzled millions. Their entire wealth was stolen from friends and family. This rocked him hard. Dad went to jail and he changed his name and totally became a different person. I saw him after that and barely recognized him. His personality and even his posture was different. I felt really bad for him. I ended up having a really good talk with him and I can only imagine what he has gone through. Edit. Wow, lots of people have asked for details on location and was it so-and-so. Which tells me this has clearly happened before. I won't give any more details other than it wasn't in the US. When we walked across the stage, I was amazed by how much simpler university relationships were compared to high school. Popular people who picked on me in high school were suddenly desperately in need of a friendly face and it was all water under the bridge. Damn. I felt this in my soul. I always found it funny how many people wanted to reconnect just a few years after making life a living hell for me. Watching the ones who peaked in HS spiral was kind of fun though. Her mom was diagnosed with dozens of brain tumors the beginning of our senior year, and died before Christmas. Girl went from stable, well-off and beautiful to a wreck, then off the map. After that, we lost 4 students violently, including 2 sisters stabbed by their stepdad. Staff quit. Pretty much no one in our senior class made it in life. Suicides followed graduation. 1999 was a really tough year for our school. Edit. Thanks for the awards. RIP inbox. This happened in Snoqualmie, Washington, aka Twin Peaks. I am doing okay these days, despite a rough life. Can't say the same for the classmates that I did keep up with. Ongoing trauma is that much harder to process when literally everyone around you is grieving too. No one gets a pause long enough between deaths to ever fully heal from any of them. We did our best. 1999 was a messed up year for so many people and I don't know why. I think about that Offspring song Kids Aren't Alright a lot. What happened to the 2 other students? One was killed in a random hit and run crossing the street. Others skidded on some RR tracks in the rain and hit a tree. There was also a former student who fell down a mine shaft that year. Just a lot of tragedy. Oh my goodness. Mount C High School, Snoqualmie, Washington. I wondered when I saw your initial post, this one confirmed it for me. Don't forget the 3 girls killed in the car wreck when they flipped a Suburban on Highway 202, or the one killed when she flipped her car off the I-90 floating bridge. Those were some rough years. Class of 2000, here. Absolutely. I really couldn't keep up with anything that happened after I graduated. It was still so much happening, and so sad. You holding up? Yeah, I can still remember the names of all the kids that passed. I was in clubs and pretty good friends with a few of them. I left the Valley in 2001, though, and have only visited a few times, and as much as I loved growing up there, I am not sad I left. I actually didn't realize the ripple effects of those few years were so bad. I'm sorry to hear it's been so rough for you. Frown. I still miss Salome and Amanda. 21st anniversary of the stabbing was on Friday. I think it was particularly crippling for class of '99 because we were all right about to launch when the events happened. If we didn't want to demolish our futures before we graduated, we had to still show up for class every day, act normal, and finish the work, instead of focusing on mental/emotional health. I suspect it's why so many of us made it to college/work, but have such self-destructive personal lives since then. Yeah, that was sad. I was in Knowledge Bowl with Salome and we went to church together. That whole thing, including the aftermath with her stepdad's botched suicide and their sister managing to escape after being in the house while he killed the other three. All of it was just so awful. I can't believe it's been 21 years. Lost control of his car when he and his best friend were driving to Taco Bell at night. He came out of it with a fractured collarbone. His friend died on the spot. He was really close with his friend's parents too and vice versa. He made a few posts on Facebook on how he was an idiot and how sorry he was. The dead friend's sister and parents made it very clear that they didn't blame him. It was winter, black ice, and he was 100% sober. Before he was, like, a stereotypical popular dude but in the wholesome way. Dropped out of school and became addicted to painkillers. Don't know what happened to him afterwards, but it was just sad for everyone. These are the ones that hurt the most because the person who lived was 100% not at fault for it, but they can't come to terms with that fact and put it all on themselves. One girl during my school years was walking with her BF in her neighborhood when a guy driving a bit too fast clipped her and killed her on impact, and the BF was perfectly fine. The BF couldn't live with that and got hard into drugs after that. It was rough to see. Bully said to the teacher that punch completely changed the course of his life. He was running with a rough crowd and thought he was big and bad. He thought nothing of beating people up. After the incident and getting punched by the teacher, he realized that he underestimated how quickly things change when you go up against the wrong guy. He completely changed how he approached the world, got out of trouble, got a good job, and was about to get married. And he credits that incident with changing the course of his life, punching the wrong person. He sent a video of him sucking his own dick to his girlfriend and then it was leaked to the whole schools. Is it possible to learn this power? Edit, just the giving yourself head part, nothing else. Someone on Reddit could do this and posted about it. They said it felt more like sucking dick than getting your dick sucked. That's because people underestimate how much effort it is to actually do a good job sucking dick. A few of them shot at some tourists in a protected wildlife area, 2 or 3 of them went to prison. No injuries as far as I ever heard, but it was still really stupid. I'd moved out of town by that point, so any information I got was hearsay. Edit, some people managed to dig the report up. It happened in Ely, in the BWCA, 6 guys were involved, and it actually turned out that the 2 kids that I thought were involved, weren't, and a different, other popular kid was. Jay Olson got 3 years for it, having a hard time finding much more information. It's all very piecemeal. Rumor went around that his parents paid a hefty amount to ignore rape allegations and keep him on the football team. Edit, no, it never ended up on the news. I'm not sure of the truth behind the rumors because my school likes to keep rumors hushed and there's too many kids at my school to get a single story. A kid in my high school, he wasn't super popular though. Anyway, his parents paid a girl classmate's college tuition. Edit, for the morons asking why we're talking about rape, I replied to a comment about payment for rape. She got drunk at a party at his house and he raped her. Everyone knew. One kid on school was popular only because he liked to start shit and bully everyone. So most people were friends with him just to avoid being a victim. One day he tried that on the wrong kid, got beat up so bad to the point he started crying. Honestly, I think it was a win for the bully because it gave him a pretty good wake-up call. Became less of a bully and is now quite humble. I know a big high school bully who thought it would be funny to punch this male teacher in the teacher's back when the teacher was walking in front of the bully. He picked the wrong teacher. Teacher instinctively reacted and punched the bully back. Bully went down hard. Bully got suspended and nothing else happened to him or the teacher. About 8 years later, the bully came back to the high school and asked to talk with the teacher. He actually thanked the teacher for what happened that day. Bully said to the teacher that punch completely changed the course of his life. He was running with a rough crowd and thought he was big and bad. He thought nothing of beating people up. After the incident and getting punched by the teacher, he realized that he underestimated how quickly things change when you go up against the wrong guy. He completely changed how he approached the world, got out of trouble, got a good job, and was about to get married. And he credits that incident with changing the course of his life, punching the wrong person. Yeah, most people who talk a lot of shit, never had the shit kicked out of them. Usually after they get their ass beat, they realize they ain't shit and become nicer people. Got hit by a car. Went from bully to paraplegic. She was a bully, nothing good to say about her, but that is a rough end. And that's how Regina George died. No, I'm totally kidding, but she did get hurt. This happened when I was in junior high to this girl. She wasn't paraplegic, but she had brain damage and lost her fucking mind. She suddenly had some huge cognitive deficits, no social skills, and was unable to complete elementary school work, but her parents insisted she return to the same school she went to before the accident. Back in 7th grade I hated the shit out of her. She was annoying, mean, and physically violent. She still is more than a decade later. But now, looking back, I can't even imagine the horror show that is her life now. Imagine knowing all of your friends still, but having them basically abandon you and not really understanding why. Imagine being mid-puberty and having your entire perception of life destroyed. I kind of wish I could chat with her nowadays. Peace, M. The stud quarterback about 2 years ahead of me has been Narcaned at least half a dozen times. He might be dead now. Not sure if that was a problem for him in high school, but I heard he had a nasty pain pill habit in college and probably transitioned to heroin from there. Actually ran into one of the super popular kids at the local bar when I came home from college. She would never give me the time of day in high school and I for sure thought she didn't even know I existed, but she approached me at the bar, super drunk, and said, "Hey, didn't I go to high school with you?" She then proceeded to tell me she wished she had been nicer to more people in high school and that she has no idea what she's doing with her life. Honestly feels good to know that she's thought about how she treated people back then, not sure if that's the norm or just a weird occasion. Probably is the norm. Kids are stupid and in high school it's easy to get high on power or popularity, but after they will tend to realize that life isn't a High School Musical movie. Unless you get into politics, then life is just like high school. My stepmom was an asshole in high school, and still is in some ways. She went to her high school reunion and starting talking to a girl she used to make fun of like they were friends. The girl said, "You made my life hell in high school. Why the hell would I want to talk to you?" My stepmom said, "We were just having fun?" The girl said, "I wasn't. Maybe you were?" That's a stunning lack of self-reflection. Wow. I almost don't want to ask if your stepmom kept on with the derpy act, or if she learned something about herself at that reunion. I never saw him again after high school, but a guy who bullied me told a mutual friend of ours to pass along apologies for the way he treated me. He died sometime later, I believe from cancer. I wish I could have bought him lunch or a drink. It takes a big person to make that kind of apology. It also takes a big person to forget as graciously as you have. It sounds like you both missed out on meeting as mature adults. One of the popular kids at my school did cocaine in the bathroom, and then saw a female security on his way out, so he decided to put her in a chokehold, but he then was shown how that was a huge mistake when that security guard was a fucking gymnast and she saved herself, got him in jail. His dad died. It was really shitty. Before that he was popular, but also smart, motivated, a great athlete and actually a great guy in person. As much as you can be till you're 15. Then his dad died right before he was going to have a football game, heart attack in the shower before they were gonna leave for it. We heard about it later, and basically, from there, everything seemed to decline. He became angry as you could expect, and I think looking back you'd expect a decline in everything at first. But he just spiraled deeper and deeper. We didn't see him for a while. When I did catch up with him later in high school he'd been so into drugs his brain literally seemed fried. It was sad for every reason. This kicked me in the ass. My twin sons are pretty popular in school. We just found out that my cancer is growing again. I'm 33, I'm not ready to die. My boys are 9, they're not ready for me to die. I can only hope we make the best of however much time we have left together. I hope you have more time. My dad was diagnosed when I was 15 and relapsed every 3 or so years. I got just over a decade more with him after his first diagnosis and it meant so much. One of the most popular girls in my high school had a blood clot that killed her in her sleep in the middle of the school year. I'm not having fun anymore. I'm leaving this thread. Add this cliff that was really dangerous, and to keep kids away the genius locals spread around the rumor that it was haunted. Naturally the cool kids wanted to go there like all the time. Once the gang of those supposedly cool kids, 4 in total, went there and no one really knows what happened. One kid jumped to his death. The stories of the rest didn't pan out correctly. Each one had a different version. They were high. No one was jailed. But all 3 were depressed and eventually spiraled out of control. One OD'd 2 years later, one was in a car accident, drunk. And one committed suicide. That cliff is definitely haunted. When they died their ghosts were no longer bound to what we know as time, and to try to prevent their own deaths they started the ghost rumor. Creating a paradox where they are doomed to fall off the cliff and repeat their destruction. Forever. There is a cliff a few towns over from me that 2 of my mom's distant cousins died on as teenagers. It was a brother and sister and the sister's boyfriend. The boyfriend was driving and they drove up the mountain in the middle of the night. The sister was in the passenger seat and the brother was in the seat behind her, and he got out to take a pee and never came back. The sister got out to look for him and also disappeared. Turns out the boyfriend had parked so close to the edge of the cliff that they both got out of the car and stepped right over the side. This guy I used to hang out with in elementary school was pretty overweight, but I'd had the biggest crush on him. I lost track of him for a few years, but in high school he came back and had lost all the weight. He was pretty athletic and was generally well liked. I didn't talk to him, but the guy seemed decent. I guess he liked driving like an idiot. The year after he graduated he wrapped his car around a pole. They had to use the jaws of life to pull him out of his car, but it was too late. Had died on impact. There had been multiple reports that night of people calling the cops to complain about his reckless driving around town. I just remember that chubby little boy I used to spend recess with every day. He wrecked his car into a wall and died on prom night. My sister had a kid as her graduating class that did something similar. He wasn't a great student and was at risk of not graduating, but he didn't want to disappoint his sister, so he busted his ass and passed his classes. When they told him he'd done it and would graduate later that week, he left the school, street raced, ran a car into a pole and died while his friends tried to save him. It was the saddest graduation I've ever been to. Not a lot of hopeful messages for the future at that point. That's called an inside the park home run. Edit, I've been awarded and sprogged. Neat. Well, a super popular cheerleader girl at my school ended up falling downstairs and broke her back and got paralyzed and has to use a wheelchair ever since. Frown. So yes, that is one example answer. Stairs are not a joke. Damn, that one's actually a little heartbreaking. Backbreaking. Sorry, I know, I'm a head out. Frown. Watch your step. In the 8th grade there was a really popular kid in my school that was the head of the football team. He was also a huge bully, would beat nerds up for no reason at least twice a week. One day he either got drunk or high and jumped off a bridge as a prank. I'm not sure how he didn't know that the lake he jumped into was riddled with underwater trees, as you can see the branches during the daytime. Either way, I don't think his body was found. Our school held a huge memorial for him, but I will always remember him as a bully. Underwater trees. I don't think his body was found. Are you sure they were underwater trees? The river monster claims another. He was caught with nude photos of girls from our school on his phone. Those same girls didn't even send those to him. He became a registered sex offender, then had to attend a lot of court. Then he was filed for sexual assault, for other reasons than the pictures, and was proven guilty. No one really talked to him after the incidents, and then he quickly moved away, never to be seen again. Man, similar thing happened at my high school. A week before graduation, this one dude in my graduating class got caught with hundreds of upskirt photos on his phone. Minors, a teacher, some of his close friends even. Apparently based on the image dates he'd been doing it since he started school there. It was pretty spectacular really. He was never really popular per se, but was incredibly smart and respected, one of the top members of the IB program, and was about to go to an Ivy League school from what I remember. And then one day, poof. That news came out and homeboy was gone. I heard this one from my brother. Resident popular kid and asshole with fully paid scholarships proceeds to get drunk on Halloween, crash through the French doors of somebody's house, and passes out of their couch while covered in blood and puke while still dressed like Superman. Enter a horrified family finding him after they got home from their own Halloween party, an arrest, and no scholarships. Edit. Okay, ow, I take a nap and wake up to nearly 10,000 votes. To answer questions, as far as I know, he did not crash a car into the building. He was blackout drunk, trying to walk home, and stumbled through the window or threw something through it and then charged through the glass is the way I heard the story. That's where the blood came from. He lost his scholarships because of the arrest. Not quite sure if it impacted his ability to graduate on time or if the incident happened on or near campus. I've made some seriously stupid decisions while drunk, but I gotta wonder at the decision to just crash on the couch after crashing into the house. Maybe he thought he crashed into the right house, and thought it was his couch? My brother crashed his car through a fence once. But he had the good sense to run 5+ miles home through the woods and report the car stolen in the morning. Your brother is going places. Not college, but places. 6 feet 3 inches football player, drug dealer and general shitbag got arrested 2 weeks before going to college. His family was really poor, but he had a full ride, in spite of his obvious drug habits, selling to middle schoolers, and various other shitty extracurriculars. Somehow his record gets swept under the rug in time to still go, much like his high school GPA. Halfway through the first semester he gets shot in the gut at a drug deal that went wrong. He survived and last I heard he got picked up by another college. I've no idea how he graduated high school, let alone how he got away with the rest of it. I guess in the South being good at football takes you most anywhere. Far as I know he hasn't fallen apart yet, but it seems to be only a matter of time. So I went to high school in a somewhat rural area in Alabama. During my junior year the county's district attorney was coming to give a speech about drunk driving or something like that. It's been a few years so I don't exactly remember. Well, an hour before the assembly everyone was called to the gym and told not to be anything with us. We get there and there are dogs and officers searching students. Everyone was freaked up but we had assumed they moved the assembly from the auditorium to the gym and wanted to be careful because the speaker was a high public figure in the area. After he spoke the principal told us we couldn't leave the gym and everyone was confused but didn't look too much into it. After an hour or so lunch had came and went and people started getting rowdy so the principal told us we were going to be escorted to the elementary, intermediate, and middle school for lunch. This is when we started to panic and ask what was going on but no one would answer. Grade by grade we were escorted by at least a dozen officers across the school lots to each other's school. All 4 schools were on the same property, given 20 minutes to eat then promptly escorted back. Another few hours had gone by and everyone was on edge but still no one would tell us what was going on. The principal had asked to see a handful of students then left us there again. We couldn't do anything but sit there, we couldn't leave the bleachers, if we had to use the bathroom we were escorted by an officer, we couldn't leave for the day, and no one was allowed on the property so we couldn't even leave without parents. Look up Chilton County High School bomb threat and you can find some of the news articles. Edit. For everyone pointing out the 2 local news articles, no they are not accurate which can be seen since both are very contradictory, as the police nor the school made a statement. We did not return to class that day but we did the next day. There was a bomb found but it was so poorly made they couldn't actually call it that considering it was basically clay and a few shotgun shells. It was handled very badly by everyone especially the media. Feel like the school could have handled that a little better. Sounds like they kinda induced panic by trying to prevent it. Maybe I'm imagining this wrong, but you're saying someone sent a bomb threat to the school, so they gathered you all in the school building and wouldn't let you leave? That seems not smart. She was in a terrible car wreck and came out of it covered in thick scars, a wobble when she waked, and mentally challenged. She tried to fight me after our shoulders bumped in the hallway. It was an accident, but it was nice to see after a near-death collision she was still a massive cunt. Haha, I'm sorry but I love the ending sentence. Someone broke into his house, he, 18 meters, and his dad hid in the bathroom while his mom, 8-year sister, and 5-year-old brother fought off the intruder. News went around and the whole school knew. His mom filed for divorce, and it was found out his dad told the officers it was he, the dad, who fought off the intruder. It never got into the news or daily newspaper, but shit, the entire town knew the father and son were cowards. You're telling me a 5-year-old got in the mix? Since everyone is talking about people dying, I was the popular kid whose life fell apart in seconds and didn't die. I was a good student, athlete, etc., but I sold weed. One day, I came into class and got arrested in front of my AP history class and escorted out of the school between classes so everyone was in the hall. I got expelled, kicked out of parents' house, and kept getting in trouble. As far as everyone I grew up was concerned, I ended up in jail. My life spiraled, but then I joined the Marines, which definitely helped me, but then I got badly injured and had to fight the VA over 10 years for my benefits. It was a rough 15 years. One day I decided to try coding and realized it was the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. I now write software for banks and live by the beach in SoCal. Everyone still thinks I'm in jail, lol. This is really inspiring. Way to turn your life around. A sexual assault charge. He was in my friend group. I considered him one of my best friends. Looking back, we all put up with a lot of shit from him. His girlfriend at the time was friends with us all as well. We were all at an EDM concert and his girlfriend and I were in a booth chatting. She seemed off and I asked what was up. She started crying and was struggling to say anything, but after some light prodding and a comforting hand on hers, she started spilling about the abuse that the two of them do to each other. The latest one was her getting raped by him during a fight. I got up and walked to her side of the table and just hugged her as tight as I could. I went to get another beer for us both and he confronted me. He was watching us talk and he demanded that I tell him what we talked about. I refused to tell him and started walking away. However, he grabbed my wrist, pulled me close and behind gritted teeth said, "Whatever she told you is a fucking lie." He tried to fight me outside my house later that night as well after an awkward car ride. Me being a drunk dummy put him on blast on my Snapchat story. I had 20 girls replying to it pitching their own experiences with the guy. The ex-GF took him to court. After nearly 2 years the case was dropped under the condition he goes to therapy and drug counseling. Last I saw he was getting drunk and doing blow on probation. He still has a severe coke problem as far as I'm aware. It took a few years, but he moved to CA to be an actor and he was not very good at all. Now moved back to TX and works at some temp placing agency. He gambled on a fart and lost. Went from a jerk-ass hotshot to a jerk-ass hot shit. That is definitely one way to do it. When I made him cry. He had been bullying me at school every day for nearly 3 years, for two things I had no control over, my poverty and my physical appearance. I badly needed braces my family could not afford, at that point, and I had had enough. I had discovered that he was adopted, so I told him, in front of our classmates, that his real parents probably wanted no part of him because they could tell he'd grow up to be nothing but a piece of shit. I got in trouble for that, but it was worth it to see him cry for once, and he left me alone after that. When they graduated and realized that life is way more than school. Even worse, struggling through college on your own, I'm sure. Actually, a little after high school. This kid was one of the most well-liked kids in school. Literally everyone loved him. He even showed up to the funeral of some kid he never hung out with outside of school when the aforementioned kid committed suicide. His dad got really sick after his freshman year of college, and after his dad was hospitalized for months before needed an extremely serious procedure done to save his life. He took the next semester off from school to care for his dad. This kid also lost one of his best friends to addiction and a close family friend. Life just started to kick the shit out of him. He's still a great guy, but after experiencing something serious like that, it wears on a person. He's more quiet than he used to be, but still the same great guy. If you like this video, please subscribe. Thank you.